For the weekend, we were extremely busy, and one of the arrests we were able to pick up on with the help of the state attorney was the arrest of a 17-year-old Daniel Arvizo, who was a DeLand student, DeLand High student, who's now in Richard Milbourne. And what happens is, well, on Sunday, July 30th, about 3:06 p.m., we get called to an address for an unresponsive 17-year-old in the city of DeLand. When we get there, obviously this 17-year-old has expired. There's a white powdery substance in his room, and there's a cell phone. Detectives automatically go to work tracking down the person on the other end of that cell phone. There's a string of text messages in there. In one of the text messages, our victim complains about how potent the last batch of stuff he bought from this guy was, and you need to warn him next time. So detectives then go out and conduct a car stop of this little cherub. And that's what Andrew's going to play. In this car stop, we recover fentanyl and weed.
Hey, show your hands! Show your hands! Show your hands!
Step out of the car now.
Come here. Go ahead.
Turn around.
Turn around.
Clear.
You have cuffs on you?
Yeah.
You got anything on you?
Clear.
No. Alright, don't move. Give me a pinky. Good.
So clearly he's an aspiring pharmaceutical salesman. So he gets taken in on that, and he's informed by detectives, hey, just so you know, you're a suspect in the death of our 17-year-old DeLand high school student, which really shakes him up. He gets really nervous because on July 19th, we have reason to believe that he sells or provides to a bunch of teenage girls in DeLand High School with a vape pen that is laced with something that we don't know. Because on July 19th, evac is called to DeLand High to transport this freshman student to the hospital because after she vapes on there, she gets really, really, really sick. We conduct our investigation, and this guy, Daniel's name comes up again as providing the vape pen. So at that point, we got with the state attorney's office, they issued what's called an OTIC, or an order to take into custody, because somebody else is going to die. At that point in time, the detectives did a great job. They fast-tracked everything. So we were able to arrest him over the weekend and charge him for manslaughter in the death of the 17-year-old DeLand high school student. The cause of death was listed as fentanyl toxicity. Clearly, this guy is supplying. That's where he makes his money. He's a 16-year-old kid, 17-year-old kid, and everybody knows where to go to buy stuff from this guy. And from the conversations, he supplies it all. Adderall, weed, you name it, he supplies it. And unfortunately, we have a 17-year-old that's dead because of it. And I know Dr. Johnson here is a good friend of ours, is here for the school district, and I'm going to personally go off on this for a minute. There is no goddamn reason that we do not have fentanyl in our school system. The deputies have it, officers have it. I train the guardians. There's 112 guardians. If I could train them to defend life, why the hell can't they carry Narcan? Because we're lucky, by the grace of God, that 14-year-old wasn't laying dead there waiting for evac to show up, when all you could have done was supplied it. The governor has signed an executive order. Any school district that wants to deploy this can do it with no cost. They're covered under the Good Samaritan Act. And here's my message to the Volusia County schools. Either you work for your attorney or your attorney works for you. You can't do it one way or the other. There is no reason. We're seeing fentanyl everywhere. This arrest proves it. They're classmates. They know who to ring up, and they know who's supplying what. And in our deceased's own words, that was some powerful shit. Warn me next time. Well, there was no next time. He's dead, and he's never coming back. We all need to get on board here. Fentanyl is everywhere. It's in marijuana. It's in Adderall. It's in vape pens. People are dying at an incredible ratio, and it's now in our schools. So we all need to get together and knock this shit off before some kid loses their life because somebody doesn't want Narcan in schools. We give it away. We gave Narcan away. Volusia Recovery Alliance gave away 2,100 of these boxes at the last concert. 2,100 concert goers saw the table and took it. And from what we could tell, it was deployed at least a dozen times at a concert. People know it's out there. We have to protect our kids. Not to mention the fact we have parents showing up, dropping their kids off that are high as kites. We all know that, or picking them up as high as kites. You know, they do drugs right in front of their kids. We're going to go out, we go out on search warrants, and when you hit the house, and I'm out there with them at 5 o'clock in the morning, the school bags are laying on the table, and so is the scale and the cut fentanyl. And then the kids are scooping up their school bags and going to school. It's an epidemic we're dealing with. RJ, you want to touch anything on this?
Sir, thank you. It truly is disturbing. We've got kids, we started this Young Gun Initiative where we saw where kids were involved in stealing guns, selling guns, using guns, and trading them. Now we're seeing a trend of kids getting involved more in the fentanyl market. So not only are they carrying guns and shooting each other and shooting other folks, but now we've got kids who are peddling in a truly powerful and deadly narcotic. And, you know, they're young. I mean, this kid's 17 years old that we've just arrested, and he's going to be looking at, we haven't filed formal charges on him yet, but that's being looked at by our homicide division. And while you cannot charge a juvenile with first-degree murder based on the drug overdose, you can charge them with manslaughter. The legislature made it very clear in this statute that they can be charged with manslaughter but not first-degree murder. But think about it. This is a 17-year-old kid who's selling fentanyl. Somebody dies from his sale, allegedly. Then he sells again after that. I mean, it's almost like there's no conscience or no conception or perception of how deadly the drug is, but more importantly, how deadly it's going to be for these folks for the rest of their lives. I mean, this kid's 17, and he's looking at serious charges and serious time in the Florida State prison system if he's convicted. Sheriff Chitwood and his crew do an outstanding job of investigating and bringing cases to us that we can prosecute. We work hand in hand with them. I want to applaud them and thank them for the hard work they do every day. I just want folks out there to know that your kids are doing things that could ruin the rest of their lives and also ruin the lives of other kids. In fact, it could kill other kids. So please, parents, make it a point to be involved in what your kids are doing. Make it a point to check and see what they're bringing to school. I mean, I think the sheriff has statistics on how many weapons have been found in the schools, knives, guns, you name it, coming into the schools each and every day. This is a problem that won't go away without community involvement and participation and aggressive investigation and prosecution. We're going to do our part, and we're asking parents and the rest of the community to do their part so we can put an end to this senseless and tragic death and the lives that are ruined because people are making terrible decisions that are going to haunt them for the rest of their lives. Thank you for giving me an opportunity, Sheriff.
Well, don't go too far.
Yes, sir.
To transition to that, we'll talk about the Young Guns Initiative. I do want to say this, that we talk to other sheriffs in the state, other police chiefs. This isn't Volusia County alone. This is something we're seeing in schools throughout America when you see what we're going to talk about. This just isn't isolated here. It's just not us. You talk to other sheriffs. We met with the juvenile folks in Seminole County, and we listen to horror stories that are being told over there. You know, I have a friend of mine who's a deputy commissioner in Philadelphia. I ran into him yesterday at an Eagles game. He told me what's going on in the schools there. So, you know, there's something that's out there that's happening to our youth that it's all over the country. What we have, the next case we wanted to talk about was what happened on September 30th at 6:15 p.m. in Deltona. There's a bunch of 17-year-olds in a car, and one of his kids, Jermaine Cuevas, is playing around with a gun in the back seat of the car, and the gun allegedly goes off by accident and shoots the kid in the passenger seat in the back. And of course, he runs and gets rid of the gun, but we're able to piece enough together to make an arrest on this. Horseplay with a firearm at 17 years old. He was arrested in 2022 for having a weapon on school property. And where that goes to is what RJ was talking about. You have these kids that are armed with firearms. You know, think of this. We had the kid walking by Spec Martin Stadium, juvenile, felony record, adjusting the gun in his waistband and shoots himself and kills himself by accident. In Volusia County, we had 17 juveniles that are on some form of probation or parole for dealing with a firearm, whether it's stealing, carrying, or discharging. To put that in perspective, Flagler County has 1, Putnam has 9, and St. John's has 2. So put that in the perspective of what we're dealing with in Volusia County and why the state attorney has started this Young Guns initiative. You got a kid that's 15, 16, 17 years old who really doesn't care, who's running around out there with firearms committing violent crimes. Then we'll transition into, weapons on school property. So far this year, and we're October 1, there's been 20. Last year, there's 82. Why? And again, I'll go back to what RJ said and what I said. As a parent, why are you not checking your kid's school bag? Why are you not checking their room? If they're old enough to drive, why are you not searching that car? Because this is going to follow you forever. This has got nothing to do with the schools. This is about parenting and taking goddamn responsibility for what your kid's doing and what your kid's bringing to school. I mean, last week, 10-year-old with a tactical knife. That knife has one sole purpose, and that is to kill and maim. But a 10-year-old brings it to school for show and tell. Where are the parents? It has nothing to do with the schools. Check your kid's backpack. Be involved. Be a helicopter parent. Check their goddamn cell phone. Check their social media. It's not the school's responsibility. It's not my responsibility to be parents. However, if you want me to be your parent of your kid, you ain't going to like the outcome because you're going to be dealing with this man standing next to me an awful lot in the courtroom. So that was what our weekend was about, on top of a whole bunch of other stuff that went on. Aggravated child abuse, which is probably going to end up a homicide from January that we've been working with the state attorney on. That guy got locked up over the weekend. We had 2 quote-unquote accidental shootings where one brother shot another brother, and then you have all this going on top of this. But if we don't step up here and do something, you got a bunch of kids that are out there that, as RJ said, they're going to destroy their lives and destroy other people's lives as well. I can't imagine how anybody who has lost a loved one to this fentanyl crisis must feel. You come home and find your 17-year-old who's going to a senior year of high school gone, and discover the person who was providing him the poison behind there and knew is locked up now for manslaughter. So, you guys got any questions for us?
Was he ever, for the vape pens in the school, was he ever charged for that? No,
that's creating a conundrum for us because we didn't get notified until the incident occurred on 9/19. That's when fire rescue was deployed to DeLand and they transport the young lady to the hospital. We got notified, I think, on 9/28. And then we interview her. She tells us she was in the bathroom. And I got to put, Volusia County Schools, they got vape, they're putting vape systems in every goddamn bathroom because of, it's so out of control, number one. Number two, because of the damage they do, because they throw the stuff in the toilet and now you have all kind of damage on top of the vaping. She tells us she was in the bathroom with some older girls. They made her take a hit on the vape pen. She admits to vaping, and then she got deathly ill. And then when she told the other girls about it, she said, well, we got it from Daniel, the one who killed Landon. That's where we bought it from. So there is no vape pen to go back to. We don't know what was in her system, so it's kind of like we're chasing our tail. But having gotten to his phone, we know he's got a lot of customers from the DeLand area. And I will probably go out on a limb and say he was probably, put your finger up, you don't want me to go down there, his supplier is probably in the city of Daytona Beach. Is where the fentanyl is coming in. So, and then you see the cases we work, with the fentanyl seizures that we have, intercepting kilos of fentanyl coming in, and you saw the last big round, the 82 people, Operation Daily Dose. I mean, it's out there, it's everywhere, it's everywhere.
In the accidental shooting, do you have a condition update first, and then also, do the actions that took place after the shooting, the getting rid of the gun and kind of running, does that play into how the charges were filed at all?
Yeah, he wasn't charged with getting rid of the gun just yet.
Okay.
But he's charged with, aggravated battery, possession of a firearm, discharging a firearm. Well, he's charged with 3 felonies, I think, and a misdemeanor for that. And thank the good Lord, originally when we got the text message was the bullet was lodged in his spine, he was going to be paralyzed, but it looks like he's going to pull through. Again, to get to RJ's point, that's an inch away or less, a millimeter away from a homicide, or somebody being paralyzed from mid-chest down because you're 17 years old, twirling a gun in the backseat of a car. You should never have. And then, of course, you deal with these parents. They don't want to tell us anything. You ain't searching my car. Get a warrant. I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, seriously?
Just to be clear, can a 17-year-old legally possess a firearm?
No. Not a 9mm.
Well, when you talk about firearms, I mean, look, there's kids that go hunting with their family and they have a .22 rifle or something like that. That's different. As far as actual firearm like a 9mm or a .40 caliber or what have you, it would depend on the circumstances. I mean, you got a kid with their parents going and shooting at a target place or indoor outdoor shooting range, under supervision, things of that nature. But you carry a gun into a school. You carry a gun as a juvenile, using it in a process of a crime and things of that nature. So nothing at all legal about that. So you have to look at the circumstances a little bit as well.
Get to your point. While you're up there, Mr. Larizza, I get the impression the 17-year-old alleged drug dealer, do you plan to charge him as an adult?
Well, we're in the process of reviewing it now. I mean, this investigation is ongoing, but we have one of our homicide team looking at it. We've gotten the autopsy, but we have to dot our I's and cross our T's. It's never an easy decision. I say never. Typically, it's not easy to make a decision to charge a juvenile as an adult, but when a gun is involved and a death is involved, then historically and typically, that's our tendency at the 7th Circuit State Attorney's Office to charge as an adult. But we still have to do our due diligence before that final decision is made.
I want to go out on a limb, Hutch. 12-year-old, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, permitless carry does not apply to them. So just want to throw that out there. You're 12 and 13, 16, 17, it's permitless carry. Nice try.
What's that second video?
Andrew?
Through BWC. That's over.
Yeah. What does that mean, like a warrant? Like
A warrant
yes, sir.
means a judge signed a piece of paper for your arrest.
Arrest?
Yeah.
So what am I arrested for?
Manslaughter.
And what is that?
I mean, something you did caused someone to die.
You got anything on you?
No, sir.
No guns?
No.
That's your wallet?
Yeah. Just my key. Can I make a phone call real quick, sir?
In a minute.
And remember, all the kids in the school knew what happened to Landon. They all knew. They all knew who Landon bought from because everybody else is buying shit from him. So there was no surprise of what's going on. And think of it. I mean, I think we could all look back to our high school days and could go back and say, I knew. Me and RJ were talking as old people. You knew where you could buy weed from. You knew where you could buy Quaaludes from. You knew where you could buy beer from. Unfortunately, we've got fentanyl now. You didn't have people, that you were scared to death. That, you have parents. I have a parent tell me she's got a medical marijuana card. She'd rather share her medical marijuana with her son, which blew my mind. Well, at least I know he's not buying it on the street. Well, what's he doing smoking marijuana anyway?
what the sheriff is talking about, this is important. The sheriff and myself, we deal with problems that we didn't create. I mean, these kids, it didn't start 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. I mean, this is something that takes time to happen. The problem is that it manifests itself in where we work and with what we do. But then people expect us, the sheriff and myself, to have the answers, to be able to fix it. No, my job is to prosecute. If I can help somebody, I will. But my job is to prosecute crimes. The sheriff's job is to investigate crimes and arrest people who commit them. So we have to, and the community, I know the school districts have a tough job, and I deal with 4 school districts. It's difficult, especially when what happens at home is what happens to these kids. It's what they become. And how do you fight that? How do you stop that? We're still grappling with that, I think, aren't we, Sheriff?
Yeah.
But you know, we get blamed sometimes because, well, why aren't you doing more? What else can we do? We need help. We need help from families. We need help from the communities, from other institutions to help us combat this, because we want it to go away. We want it to stop. I don't take pride in prosecuting these cases, but that is my job. And as long as it happens, the sheriff is going to be doing his thing, and you know how effective him and his team are, and we're going to be doing ours. I just wish that we could get help to turn this around so that we're not always up here talking about another tragedy.
I do just want to close. I want to thank the state attorney for this weekend, for everything they do for us, and also all my investigators and deputies. It was a busy weekend, yes, but they are out there doing their job day in and day out, and a lot of good things came to fruition. A lot of bad guys got locked up over the weekend to try to help make our community safe. So, you know, I'm eternally grateful to them for that, because I know his phone rings, his staff phone rings like mine rings. So, anybody got any other questions?
Could you clarify the high school that the 14-year-old girl was attending when she was...
DeLand.
DeLand, okay. And he was a DeLand student?
At the time of that incident, he was in Richard Milbourne Academy, which has a satellite campus in DeLand, and if memory serves me correctly, those kids do have access to go on to DeLand's campus, use the cafeteria or whatever.
Gotcha.
Sheriff, you mentioned that the Narcan's not in the schools, and it sounds like we see this all the time. We see these press conferences, all the agencies give it away like it's candy. Why is it not in the schools?
That's a question for the school board and for the school board attorneys. I don't know why. We did our due diligence last year. We saw this tidal wave coming. We went, we worked diligently. We got a policy together. The governor signed an executive order letting any school district do it. The governor supplies the Narcan. We supply the training. I train the guardians. It's nose spray, for Christ's sake. It doesn't work on anything but reverse opioids. That's all it does. Yet we give it away at concerts. We give it away on streets. People can come to us and say, hey, I have somebody who's addicted to heroin. Can I get a couple boxes from my home? We give it away there. Why would we think that what goes on in the street isn't what goes on in the schools? Because it's the same exact thing. Mental health, got mental health issues in the streets, got mental health issues in the schools. You know, you got violence on the streets, you could have violence in the schools. It's the same thing. So I just think it's an easy way, and it's the guardians got it. That's all you need.
I do have one last question, sorry. How many students have overdosed or died from overdose this school year?
That's the first one. I pray to God it's the last one.
Oh. First death, but what about overdoses that they were able to? I haven't seen any reported overdoses to us, but I'd have to go back and do a little research. Obviously, what happened to the 14-year-old, we really don't know, because it was handled as a medical, which I think everybody would think. Somebody says, hey, I was in the bathroom, I don't feel good, something's not right, and you call, that would be a medical thing. But it took 15 days later before it was brought to our attention, and then this guy's name surfaces again, who we already were working with the state attorney's office. You know, everybody thinks, well, I would like to tell you we average 300 overdose deaths a year in Volusia County. give or take, a little on the higher side, a little on the lower side, and we don't really get to solve a lot of them because they're so intricate, and I think that's what he was trying to get at. You know, it's not only you have to wait for the medical examiner to come back and rule the cause of death was fentanyl toxicity, there's so many other things that go into play. I mean, you really don't get to see the whole affidavit in there of all the work the detectives got to go in, all the warrants that got to be served, all the technology to corroborate everything and put people in places. It's a lot. It's a lot. And again, if you know, just telling you, if it's an older person who's got health issues and multiple drugs in their system, how do you prove that it was fentanyl that killed them? We all know it probably was the fentanyl that killed that person, but they got a bad heart, you know, they're an alcoholic, they're chronically using drugs, and then, you know, now they're dead, and that's a hard one to get a charge on because there's so much across the board on that. Where here you have young kids that are doing it. And of course, RJ said it best. I think he said something about they have no sense of anything. There's no empathy. You know, you sold, you know, and I could be a little more liberal than he can because he has to say alleged, but you know that you killed that kid. You know that. And what do? You're right back out selling again. They're right back out, right in the mix, peddling that junk. And if you put any veracity into any statement, yo, bro, that shit was super strong. Warn me about that next time. I was high for 50 minutes. So you know what you're selling.